So we're starting with our chapter 1 packet right now. And on the front cover, you see where it says Earth Science. We're not going to do any writing here, but I kind of just want to talk about the things we're going to learn this year. Do you guys have any ideas of the topics we cover in Earth Science? Earth, what about the Earth? Science, oh. So you're that kid. Yeah, we're going to learn about the Earth this year. What about the Earth are we going to learn besides the science of the Earth? Give me one. Rocks. Rocks and minerals, and that's probably the first thing most of you are thinking about, right? Yeah, we will spend it. We have a whole chapter. In your reference table, 3 whole pages out of 16 are devoted to rocks and minerals. So you can guess that the Regents people who make the tests, they love rocks and minerals, so they ask you lots of questions about them. It's a pretty big topic in Earth Science, absolutely. What else do you think we got? Space. We spend one short chapter on space at the end of the year. Space, which is typically called astronomy, I think is everybody's one of their favorite topics all year long. And the reason people like it is because it's still so unknown to us as humans. If we don't know all the answers about what's going on in space, there are people like really, really smart people who are still trying to figure out the Big Bang Theory and how you can make something, a whole bunch of somethings out of nothing. So there's a lot of big questions. So there's real science going on in the space corner of Earth Science. And it's like everybody wants to talk about it, but it's the topic that people still don't know a lot about. So we touch on it, but we don't get into big detail into space. What's some other stuff you think we're going to talk about? So we got rocks, minerals, and space. What? Planets, yeah. So we'll cover those. I thought you said plants, and that is one thing we don't do. No plants this year, but planets, we talk about them in the space unit. What else? We covered natural disasters for about 10 seconds this year. Not really huge one topic in Earth Science, unfortunately. Should be, because it's way more cool than some of the stuff we do. What do you think? Any ideas, guys? Nothing else? All right, well, let me tell you what we're going to do. You don't have to do any writing. It looks like you have to write, but you do not have to write at the moment. Oops, wrong spot. All right. Okay, so like you guys said, the first thing that pops into everybody's heads, we are going to do rocks, minerals. We will talk about some soils and some natural resources. This one, nobody mentioned this. Geology processes, so like things that happen to the earth. We're going to be talking about weathering, erosion, deposition, earthquakes, plate tectonics. Do all those words sound familiar? You've heard of all those things? Good. We're going to get into a little bit more detail than you know about them already, but stuff you kind of already know a little bit about. Then we'll switch to meteorology. That's where we'll do weather, storms, warm fronts, cold fronts, and learn about the atmosphere. And then wrap it up with space. I guess I did forget to put on there, we will talk about the Earth's history a little bit too. So that's what we're going to learn, and we're going to jump right into chapter 1, which I call the prologue. Do you guys know what a prologue is in a book? You don't read it. I never used to. It turns out it's really helpful. You should probably read the prologue if you're actually reading the book. What is it? Did you say what it is? It's not like an overview of the whole book. Anybody have a better? So it's not like a summary. Yeah. Wait. I'm gonna try to remember names throughout the day. Are you Dylan? No. No, Dylan. You're sitting next. You're Dylan. Okay. I don't remember. That's right. Okay, great. Do you know what a prologue is? Is it like the thing before? Yeah, so it's like the before the actual book. So if it's a book about somebody in their teenage years, the prologue might talk about like before they were teenagers. So the events leading up to that chapter 1. And that's kind of what we're doing here. It's kind of just the plain old regular science stuff until we can get into the actual Earth Science stuff. chapter 1 is almost all review. So chapter 1, you will have heard of just about everything we're going to do. But what we're going to do is, I like to say, we 10th grade it up. So I add some more information, some more knowledge to the stuff you already know. Density is a perfect example. You guys know a little bit about density, right? Oh boy. Okay, yes. We know a little bit about density. We're going to 10th grade it up this year and just give you a little bit more information about density. Even though you know the basics, we're going to 10th grade it up and make it a little bit more knowledge about density. So we're going to start right on page 2 there. So the front cover is just that. It's the front cover. So we're going to start with notes on the front on page 2. You're going to see this pattern throughout the packet. A page of notes, some practice, and then some Regents questions. That's how I like to do it in the packet. Just keep the notes right with the practice and then jump right into Regents practice. Looking through those, what is there, 6? No, 5, technically maybe 6, 7 vocab words. Do any of them sound familiar? Yeah, which one sounds familiar right off the bat? Observation. You guys know what an observation is? We could see it and then we make a statement about it. Is it just seeing things? Hearing. Anything that uses your 5 senses. So let's just jump right in here. So here is a perfect definition of, too far, of observation. Uses our 5 senses. It's a statement that you can make using your 5 senses. So right there, this is our first notes of earth science. Right after the word observation, right, uses our 5 senses. Shoot, I already gave you my example. Oh boy, I'm a hot mess this morning. This example might not be perfect for today because it is what the hottest time, it's been all summer right now. But one observation that people sometimes make about my classroom is the room is cold. Could you guys make any other observations about the room right now? Okay, thank you. No one's talking. It's quiet. That's a good observation. Do you have another one? There's people in it. I love it. You didn't think too hard. You look around the room and you see there's people in it. Observations really require no thinking. It's just something you see, hear. So Phoenix heard that it was quiet. So it's not just seeing, but it's something you see, hear, taste, touch, or smell. That's the one I'm missing. So it's any of those, no thinking. It's just something that you can see, hear, taste, touch, or smell. So can you guys do another one? So Phoenix has one, Olivia has one. Dylan had one, right? Or you had, one of you two guys had one. We'll skip you. How about anybody over here? Have an observation about the classroom. Don't think, just say one. Oh, you took it a whole step further. I'm trying to remember your name. Is it Trenton? Trenton says it's about 70 degrees. Where'd you get your information? The thermometer. Hey guys, in case you forgot, this is called the thermometer. This is not a clock. Some people think it's a clock. Like a lot of people think it's a clock. This is a good old fashioned thermometer. And Trenton took his observation to the next level. So instead of saying it's warm or it's cold, Trenton took it a next step and Trenton used an instrument. So a thermometer is an example of an instrument. What do you think an instrument is then? It's a tool. And what does that tool help you do? Make an observation. You got it. So it's a tool that extends our 5 senses. So that's your next. So you should have already put your example. So the example I had up there was the room was cold. So now you're down to the instrument definition. So Trenton, instead of just saying the room is cold, just using his 5 senses to say the room is cold or the room is hot, depending on what you guys think it is. He used an instrument called a thermometer to say the room is about 70 degrees. I think it is 70 degrees. You just probably couldn't tell from where you're sitting. fact, my digital thermometer says it's exactly 70, so. What's another instrument we might use in science?
Microscope.
Microscope. Last year you used those a ton. So a microscope helps extend your 5 senses. It makes your sense of sight stronger so that you can see something microscopic. Same with a telescope as another instrument that we might use so we can make our sense of sight better by seeing things that are really, really far away. Can you think of anything else that might be an instrument? Even a ruler is an instrument. Hmm? Or what? I guess it would make your sense of touch. Those help you work a little bit better, but they're not going to really extend your 5 senses, I don't think. So in this case, I don't think that's an instrument. I think that is still a tool, but I think it's not an instrument where it's going to help extend your 5 senses. You're not going to be able to make an observation with tweezers or forceps. A ruler. So instead of saying, wow, that's a big rock, now you can get out a ruler and you can measure how big the rock is. Same with a scale. Instead of saying it's a heavy rock, now you can put the rock on a scale and tell me exactly how heavy it is. So instruments just make your observations better, a little more accurate. There's still observations, still really no thinking involved, but just extending our 5 senses. One more, and then we're going to do some practice. So the next one is an inference. Have you guys heard of an inference before? Some of you. So if I asked you to make an inference, what would you be making?
Educated guess.
Pretty much. I don't really love the word educated guess, but I like the guess part. An inference is more, oh, I'm sorry. Did we do an example for instrument? Okay, so we talked about them, but could you write one? Here's the one I have on the board, but you could have written any of the ones we just talked about. So I went with the whole thermometer thing, except for it was 65 when I made the slide, apparently. All right, now we ready for inference? Okay. An inference is a guess based on an observation. So just not a random guess, just like you guys said, an educated guess. I know what you mean when you say that. It's something we're assuming. Did any of you walk into my classroom and go, oh, Mrs. Ritz likes cats? Did that occur to any of you? Why not? Like, why don't you think, like, I'm not saying I do or don't like cats, but why would you not walk in here and guess that? It's kind of irrelevant, you're right. And is there anything in here to suggest I like cats? No. You might walk in here and you might have looked at my back wall and, oh, Mrs. Ritz is really funny because she's got really funny jokes on her back wall. Or you might think, oh, she really likes the color like cream because her walls are cream colored. But no, you don't look at around here and say, oh, she likes cats. So you have to make an inferences based on things you observe, not just a random guess. So for the observation that the room is cold, I could make the inference that the heater's broken. Is that why it's cold in here? No. Do inferences have to be correct? No. Inference just has to make sense based on, okay, if the room's cold, one possible explanation could be, well, the heater's broken. What could be another inference as to why it's cold in here? One could be cold outside. Another could be the air conditioner is on. Again, is it really cold outside? But does that make Trenton wrong? No, it's still an inference. It's still a guess. It's cold in here because it's cold outside. It's cold in here. Yeah, we all know it's cold in here because the air conditioner is on. But there's lots of possible explanations. So it's a guess based on an observation. Let's try some practice. A few of you might have seen that picture I just skimmed over twice now. Here's a picture. Can you make an observation about this picture? Wait. To make an observation, what do you got to do? Use your 5 senses. In this case, you're not there. You can't smell this picture. You're not there. You can't taste this picture. You can't hear this picture. You can't feel this picture. So we're only looking at this picture. Now remember, an observation is no thinking, no guessing. It's just looking at it and saying something about the picture. So don't guess, just look. What can you say about this picture? There's a dog. Can we say he's happy? What made you think he's happy? Smiling. So saying he's happy is not an observation. It's a guess. That you guessed he's happy because he's smiling. Have you ever smiled when you're not happy? No. You smile right, you're happy right now? Yeah. You love that I'm putting you on the spot? Oh, okay, that's not weird. No, I would guess that you guys know that you can sometimes smile when you're not happy. In fact, if you ask me, this looks like a forced smile. So that might be the case here. So an observation is you could say he's smiling, whether it's a real smile or not, he is smiling or he's grinning or something like that. With another, keep observations simple, no thinking. Olivia. He's in a car or a vehicle. Yeah, either one of those is fine because I know what you mean by car. How about, give me another one. Keep it simple. There's a bag in the back seat. Good. What? He's taking a selfie.
Wearing
Yeah.
a gray shirt.
He's wearing a gray shirt. Perfect. You're lucky he's not here. It's a sensitive subject. There is a double chin in the picture. Oh, good.
Dog had a big nose.
Good thing this would be recording, right? What else you got? Maybe a little less mean. Good thing it wasn't a picture of me. Olivia? The dog has something on its collar. I don't think you can probably see from where you are. It's actually a string, but I knew what you meant. Anybody else got another real good one you want to share? Yeah, there's a little button thing on a shirt there. There's another one there. It's a short sleeve shirt. Yep. You guys got it. No thinking, no guessing for observations, no trying to assume. Like that's what Phoenix did to start with, that he was happy. You were assuming he was happy. No assuming for the observation. But now we're going to make an inference. So in an inference, which is what Phoenix, that's what you did before. You assumed he was happy because he was smiling. Assuming and inferences are the same. So that's one, he's happy. Can you think of another inference based on something you see here? Taking the dog somewhere. Taking the dog for somewhere. That works. Any other ones? The dog, you're assuming the dog is unhappy. What about this makes you think the dog is unhappy? His eyes look so sad. Ears are very droopy and sad. Any other inferences or guesses or things you're assuming about this picture?
I think he's happy.
You think he's happy. That works too. The dog or the person?
Perfect.
Because he's smiling, right? Yep.
I think they're going to the vet.
Think you're going to the vet. I think they're going. I like that you're guessing. Yep.
He's taking the dog somewhere and someone asked him what he's doing today, so look at that picture and verify.
Okay, that's a lot. You're right though. Or that's a inference, a guess. Any guesses on his job? Office job?
Mechanic.
Mechanic? About that kind of shirt, okay. Oh, briefcase. Anybody recognize this situation right there? The hat?
Cowboy.
State trooper. Okay. So guessing what this guy does for a job, that's an inference. You're seeing that. So some of you are guessing office jobs because there's a bag and he's wearing like a collared shirt. Perfect inference. Some of you are guessing a mechanic because mechanics wear like, what are those dickies? Is that what they're called? The shirts. Yeah, it's similar to this. So all those, no one guessed like, he's a circus clown. Because there's nothing in here to allude or make you guess that he's a circus clown. So those were all good inferences. He is a state trooper. That is a state trooper hat. This button right there says NY, New York. Any guesses who this guy and this dog are? Yeah, that's my husband and my dog Rufus. Any guesses on why there's a dog in the police car?
Service dog. It ran over.
Why would think he's a canine unit? Because we got a dog in a car, a police car with a police officer. Canine units don't typically wear twine on their collars.
And then you went and picked them up and sent you a picture to verify.
Okay. This was not my dog when the picture was taken. Why do you think he found it? So Rufus was found on the side of the thruway 4 years ago today, in fact. And my husband saw him running loose in one of like the parking lots that only like semi trucks go into, called a tandem lot. He was in there running around. My husband went to go pet him because, fun fact, Dobermans were his favorite dog breed ever. And so he was running around loose. Nobody there to claim him, so he put him in his trooper car to keep him safe and sent me this. And I said, I take it he's coming home with you. And he did. In the meantime, we found the owner. Rufus had jumped out of his semi-truck while he was parked going to the bathroom. And he did not notice he was missing until he was on the other side of Ohio. His company would have charged him $1 a mile to come back and get him. So it would have cost him over $1,000 to come back and get him. Turns out this guy who used to own him is not like us, where once you have a pet, he's your pet forever. So in those 4 years, he's had at least 5 other dogs. So he just gets dogs and gives them away and is probably a terrible pet owner. But luckily for us, we have the best dog I've ever met now. So that's Rufus and Trooper Ritz, who, by the way, is retiring in December. All right, ready to keep learning earth science and a little less about me? Next word is a prediction. I think you know what a prediction is, don't you? No? Prediction? You know? Yeah, you do. Sienna, what about you? You know what a prediction is? Couldn't have said it better myself. Oh, I did say it better myself. I used the word inference about the future. But you're right. You might even want to add that. In fact, let's add it. So don't write this exact sentence, write an inference, which is in parentheses, a guess about the future. I am perfectly fine with you saying just a guess about the future part. I do want you to realize it's still an inference though, which is nothing more than a guess. The key is a prediction is a guess about the future. So what is going to happen? Or if you're a typical teenager, probably the word gonna. Now don't advertise to your ELA teacher that I like the word gonna, but if something is gonna happen, that's a prediction or a guess about what's gonna happen. So I think you're gonna pass earth science is a good prediction. What do you think a prediction about? I should have done this before I told you the whole history. But what do you think a prediction about this could have been before I told you what actually happened?
Keep the dog.
Huh?
Keep the dog.
Keep the dog. That would have been, he's going to keep the dog or he's gonna keep the dog.
It's gonna keep the dog.
Other people before I told the story, he's going to take the dog to the SPCA or he's going to take the dog to jail, things like that. Or the dog is going to bite him has always been a good one. Or he's gonna bite the dog. By the way, Rufus is not sad in this picture. That's just his very concerned, I don't know what's going on look. Oh, and he had just bit the button off of his pants too, so there's that. Back to the room being cold example. One is the heater will be fixed tomorrow, or the heater is going to be fixed tomorrow. Anytime you use that word gonna or going to be or will be, anytime you're talking about something that's going to happen later. Even if later's a few minutes from now or a year from now, as long as it's about the future, it's a prediction. The next two words are the two words that you probably don't know yet, and that's cyclic and non-cyclic. What do you see when you look at this word? Do you see? You see, yeah, you saw it. You see the word cycle in there? So a cyclic is an event that happens in a repeating pattern or in a cycle. So this goes, next word, next vocab word. Can you think of anything in your regular everyday lives that happens in a cycle or is cyclic? Yeah. Okay, you brush your teeth every morning, I'm guessing, every night. What'd you say about school? Somebody over here said it. Go, come to school, go home, or even better, the letter days or the periods. They all happen in a cycle. We do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way to 12, and then you start it over again the next day. Or our letter days, A, B, C, D, E, F, A, B, C, D, E, F, or the days of the week. Those are all cyclic. Can you think of anything sciencey that happens in a cycle, a predictable cycle? I couldn't hear you. What? The day, like sunrise, sunset, is that me? Absolutely. What? Seasons. Moon phases. Okay, I guess I'll just put my example up. So my example, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot one bullet. If something's cyclic, it's easy to predict. If I'm going to be absent next Wednesday, I can figure out if it's an A, B, C, D, E, or F day by just going through the cycles. The moon phases are the best earth science example I can give you. Hopefully you know that there's phases of the moon, like full moon, new moon, quarter, gibbous, all that stuff, crescent. They happen in the same pattern every single day, every single time they go through their cycle. If you wanted to figure out what the phase of the moon would be on your 21st birthday, you could sit down and go through the days until you're 21 and figure out what phase of the moon it will be. That's how much of a cycle the phases of the moon are in. So if cyclic means happens in a cycle, what do you think non-cyclic is? Doesn't. No pattern. Events that just occur randomly. The best random, actually, how about this? Got any examples of a random event that happened? Weather. Hurricanes. So yes, right now is hurricane season, meaning that they happen more from August until like February. But they're not so predictable that I can tell you that on August 31st, 2026, there's going to be a hurricane. I can tell you there probably will be one sometime in the hurricane season next year, but I can't get down to the day. So that makes them hard to predict because they just occur randomly. Sorry, one more bullet for that. And earthquakes are another example of a random event. Yes, they occur more in California. So you know that there's probably going to be one in California and not in New York. But that again, it doesn't mean they happen in a cycle. It just means that they're more popular there. One more word and then we're done. Classification. You did this last year. You guys classified birds. Remember what that meant to classify them? What do you do when you were classifying those birds? It wasn't quite you did end up identifying, but before you identified them, you classified them. What'd you do with them? Put them in groups. You organize them. So classification is grouping them. You didn't just group those birds randomly. Do you remember how you grouped them last year? What groups you made? Size of their beaks. So you had big beaks, hooked beaks, small beaks, pointy beaks. Or what? And that was based on but you knew that based on their beaks. So this year, we're gonna be grouping rocks, and we're gonna be grouping them into igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Those are groups based on how the rock formed. So no guessing. So I could put you guys in groups based on who's wearing a hoodie on one side of the room and who's wearing short sleeves on another side of the room. That I could do. I could easily say, okay, short sleeve over here, hoodie over there. But what I can't do by just looking at you, I can't say, shoot. What's your name?
Remy.
I was gonna guess that. All right, well, I would have said before, so I can call you Remy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can't look at Remy and say, oh, Remy's cold. He goes in this group. What am I doing by guessing he's cold? He's wearing a sweatshirt, so I'm assuming he's cold. Are you cold? No, you're just more comfortable in a hoodie, right? I wish I could wear a hoodie every day. My kids are dying that their school doesn't have air conditioning. They wanted hoodies and sweatpants today, but they couldn't. Anyway, so I can't make a guess, can't look at him and say, oh, he's cold because he's wearing a hoodie. I can say, okay, he's wearing a hoodie. He goes in this group. You're wearing a shirt. You go in this group. So it's no guessing. It's just based on how they look. Let's try a couple. So by the way, I already posted your homework over here. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
What'd you do to identify that you have homework today?
Okay. Read that.
You read that and you're just gonna remember it? Okay, good luck with that. I highly recommend, I don't know if they have planners. I'm going to look, I'm gonna look next period to see if there's planners available. But you need to make yourself some sort of system. So I know some people, page 4, it appears, is not labeled. It's not the next page, it's the page after. So why doesn't everybody turn to page 4? I think I have it up here. Okay, I already have the first one up there. So we'll do this one together. So page 4 is the one that looks like this. I'm only asking you to do the observation, inference, prediction column. So guys, what's the first thing you would do when you get to page 4? Okay, you could put your name on it. I am not collecting it, so technically you don't need your name on it, but that's definitely a good practice. What's the next thing you would do after putting your name on it? How about read the directions? How many people skip reading directions? Me too, most of the time, not gonna lie. Guys, you have to stop doing that. It will only take you, what, 10 seconds to read for each statement below, determine if it's an observation, inference, or a prediction, and explain your choice. You need to start reading directions. In fact, I will tell you, it's the #1 rule of earth science, is to read all the words and do what they say. I am changing the directions for just your homework. You only have to read it and tell me if it's an observation, inference, prediction. And if you want to even shorten that up, you can go with an I for an inference, an O for an observation, and a P for a prediction. So I just gave you the answer to the first one. So let's try the second one. The sample is rectangular with sharp, angular corners. I will say you have to pretend you have that thing in your hand to do this. So how about this? All of you right now try to guess. Is that an observation, an inference, or a prediction? And again, you have the object in your hands. You do have to pretend that much. So do you think that's an observation, an inference, or a prediction? Olivia, you have your hand up. Observation. Now that's all you have to do for your homework, is identify it as an observation. Tomorrow we'll talk about the reasons, okay? So you have, I think, till 21, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you technically have 2 minutes. You have 10 questions left to do. You could probably get a little bit of a head start on that if you want. So make sure you write down what's for homework somewhere, and then put it somewhere where you're going to remember to do it. Yeah. Yeah. So for all of these, you got to pretend you're there. So question 4 is talking about, what does it say? So the snow on the glacier is powdered. Again, pretend you are standing there looking at the glacier. You can touch the glacier if you needed to. So you are there. You're not like thinking about it, you're actually there. Yes, you can go ahead and do that. If you're done with this stuff, you can pack it up. Or if you're just gonna do it at home or for study hall, you can do that too. But definitely, so this is what I'm talking about yesterday, where homework's gonna be short and simple. Not overdoing your brain power here.